this is an interesting take to me. This person here says that putting any kind of restriction on a right is in fact infringing on that right. He says, I said, Tom, you are legally, I think he meant to say, if I said, Tom, you are legally allowed to smoke weed, but only at 2:34 a.m. on the third Sunday of every month. Hang on a second. And you must do so standing upside down on your roof. I can't justify it by saying, well, technically, I'm letting you smoke it. So a couple of things. First of all, that's a false equivalency. So what you're doing is you're taking logical, within bounds restrictions that people have, that society, the law, has placed on various rights, and saying that that's comparable to something that's out of bounds like this, right? That it's kind of like when I talk about the freedom of religion, right? You have a right to practice your religion in this country. However, if your religion calls for you to sacrifice a goat in the town square every Thursday at high noon, there are laws against that. According to you, that's an infringement on their First Amendment right. That's an extreme case like what you're talking about. So let's bring it down to a more normal case. What if your religion calls for you to, at some point in time, consume cannabis? And yes, there are religions like that. But cannabis is illegal, federally speaking. Is that a federal infringement on their rights? Or is that just a law that just so happens to intersect with their religion? Okay. Let me give you another example, because I'm fearing that you might not be understanding what I'm saying here just by me sitting here and verbalizing it and saying, based on the comment, you might need to make something a little bit more clear. So let's talk about the First Amendment. You have a First Amendment right to free speech. The government cannot persecute or prosecute you based on your free speech, correct? And any restriction on that free speech, according to you, is an infringement on on somebody's First Amendment right to free speech. So one of the many restrictions on your free speech is that you cannot possess images of child porn for the purposes of the censors. According to you, that's an infringement on my First Amendment right, your First Amendment right, our First Amendment right. According to you, anybody that gets arrested for having images of child porn can make the argument that their First Amendment right was infringed on by the government, because that's a restriction that was put in place. You can't print something that's libel. That's a restriction that's put in place. So are you in favor of removing all restrictions of rights? Or are you making some type of other argument? Because when you look at it through the second argument I made in regard to the images of the children, if you say that we should remove all of those restrictions because that's an infringement on the right, on somebody's right, I'm going to look at you and go, that's fucked up. That's fucked up, and that's more of a libertarian point of view that I don't want any part of.